Hi, welcome to the lecture series in machine learning journey, and we'll be working on data acquisition, working with data. In this lecture, we'll be focusing on the formats like SQLite and SQL formats. So let's jump in. So let's jump into the project. I have created a folder called Working with SQL Data. So here, double click it, and you need to create your virtual environment. So you know how to do it. So click on CMD on in the Explorer, get onto the command line and create py-m vnv. This is how we create our virtual environment. We have created in different lectures. So it will take a bit of a time. That's fine. Let it create. And we'll launch. By the time we can launch Visual Studio Code, and you can open the folder which is SQL data. This is the one. Right, so for the time being I'll just open some other file because I think I got some issues, so I'm just reloading the folder. Now we got this SQL file. Right now it's as installed virtual environment. So right now I already have an terminal, so I can close this terminal, click on this here and create a Python file. So I'll put SQLite underscore workbook.py. Don't leave it just SQLite, always put some extension. So I'm putting like SQLite workbook.py, and here once we got it, I'll launch new terminal. So now it's activated. So we need two libraries and packages in this lecture for this SQLite version. So SQLite is pre-installed with Python, so you don't need to install any other separate packages or libraries. So I can just put import SQLite 3. Okay, the next one which we need is pandas. So I put import pandas as pd. So right now you could see there is a yellow squiggly line, means the module need to be installed. So I'll come here and put pip install pandas. So let it install. Till the time I'll just go back to my lecture which I already prepared it. So this is the one, first one is this one. So I'll just open it with my notepad so that I can use this one. Okay, so let it install. It's still installing. Now till it installs, we need to download some data. So if you guys clearly know that you need to have a Kaggle account, which is very important when we want to download some data. And here if you go to the data sets, and I already downloaded, it's called IMDb project SQL. If you click on if you search for IMDb project in SQL format, here if you search it, you can get this data. And here we have this data set, so you can click download, and if you open this folder and if you double click it, you got this movies.sqlite data, and there's one more thing called SQL text file. Okay, we are going to use this movies.sqlite. So what I will do is that first I'll go back to my project which is here, and then I'll also create a new folder called data, and I am going to use only this movies SQLite. So I'm going to drag and dump it so that I got that data in my folder. So let's jump back to VS Code. So I got this one. So right now I got this pip install upgrade is asking. So but right now I'm not going to use upgrade it. I just leave it. But generally we should upgrade it. So next thing is that if you see here, we got this data. Now SQL using SQLite version is simple and straightforward. But before we work on, I would like to show you a couple of things. So here you need to, there are two types of, you need to check the data. To check the data, we can use online SQL one. If you come here and say that online SQL viewer, and then if you open this SQLite viewer web app, so you can check it out here, and you can drag your data. This is here. So if you drag it, it clearly shows all the information. It has got three tables: movies, SQLite sequence, and directors. So if you click on here, this is the one. So it has got ID, original title, budget, popularity, release date, and it goes on. And there are 4,773 rows or records. That's what in SQL they are called as records. And generally in regular sense, we can talk as these are the columns and these are the rows. Now if I double click on directors, you can see the directors. But right now we are going to work on movies, right? And the table as well. But right now, if you see here, rather than using this one, I generally we should use something called Sqlite Studio. Okay, you can click here and download it. Now when you download it, and you need to unzip it, okay, it's a simple software. You don't need to install anything. So what I did was that I downloaded and unzipped it, and then I copied that folder with that folder in my program files, and this is a folder. Okay, you don't need to install, you just need to download that SQLite Studio. It's a folder, you download it and just put it on this. And I right clicked and I just pinned it to the start. You can put it anywhere if it's shortcut or something else. So if I click here, and you can see my Light Studio is here. So if I click here, you can open this folder, and okay, I'll just remove this because I already remove this database, so nothing is there. When you launch it for the first time, you should see something like this. So you can drag and dump. So what I'll do, because I'll just make it small like this, and drag and dump this data into this database. So once you dump it, it will say that yeah, this is the one, blah 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 stuff. Okay, just click on okay. Now if you see here, you can't see anything because it's not connected. So you just need to select this database and click on this connect. The moment you connect, it shows the tables, and if you see, the database name is movies and the tables has got directors and movies. This is the advantage. In previously when we went on to this uh, online stuff, it has got movies. It's bit, we don't know what is the database name, but we know the table name and all this, and it's better. I recommend you guys to go for the SQL. And so if I like double click on this movies, I can see the whole information of this data. See, this is the structure. It has got 12 columns: ID, original title, budget, popularity, and all that. And if I click on the data, you can see the data. Got it? Now you can edit all your SQLite data in this software. Okay, that is not the purpose of this lecture. We will not be doing anything in here now, but I encourage you guys to use this tool, download it and put it on your programs, because in future lessons we are going to learn SQL data like SQLite and as well as MySQL. That's the reason, download it and it's like installing. Okay, so right now we know the database is movies and we want to go for the table movies. Now that's it. So I'll just copy this code. First one is, okay, here I'll just name it as, you can call anything. I'll call it as SQL data, and it's the command is Sqlite dot connect. I'm asking it to connect to the data which is movies dot Sqlite, but right now it should be under data slash movies. Is it clear? So we are connecting to this data using this command Sqlite dot connect. Once you connected, you need to convert that information, whichever is in this data. We need to convert that thing into a data frame. So I'll just comment all these things so that, so you clearly know in pandas we use df as data frame equals pd dot read sql. Okay, and then in brackets, this is the command we should use, which is select star. Star stands for everything, all the rows and columns from table name. Table name is movies. Is it like this? Movies.sqlite is a data frame, and then from the data frame we are choosing, sorry, database, and then from the database we are choosing the table called movies. Okay, if you come back to the studio, you clearly know, can you see this is the database and these are the tables. Okay, movies and movies, both are same. Now here connection con is, I have to give this information. Generally it should be SQLite data. Regularly, when the moment you more practice, we don't give this one, we'll just put con only. We put the same name con connection. So we connected to this database. Now right now if I want, I can just print df.head. I'm going to print only the top 5 rows in this database. So it should print this top 5 movies, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 up to John Carter. Okay, so if I right click and run it, you could see all these 5 movies. But right now I don't need all this information. Do you think we need ID, original title and title? Both are same. Budget and popularity and release date and revenue. So right now, let's take, for my project purpose, I just need the title, the budget and the revenue it generated. Okay, is it clear? So we are going to use only these 3 columns. We are going to get the 3 columns only. How to do it? Once again, it's simple. So I'm going to put it. So what I'm going to say, I'm going to give the same name because I don't want to create one more. So what I'm saying is df equals df, because it's not just one column. We are going for a matrix of 3 columns. So one is the title, the other one is budget and the revenue. Can you see we are using 2 double box brackets because it's a matrix, and then we are printing the head. Means it will just, from this data, from this table, it will just give us only the title, budget and revenue. So right click and play, run this Python file. Now if you see here, now we got only the title, budget and revenue. After once you are happy, you need to close this connection because you don't want to open the connection, and why and all things we'll go a little bit more in detail when we go into this. We are just open the file, we are closing the file. That's what, just you, for this purpose, try to understand this. You open some folder. Once your work is done, you want to close the folder. You don't want it because you already took the information what you need. Now generally based on this thing, you can continue working whatever the requirements you need. But let's take, if I want to save this information as a CSV file, but generally we don't need to because Why do we want to save as CSV file and then call as a CSV file? We are already using it. But just to show you, I'm going to show you that how to save it as a CSV file. You guys know, but once again, we'll use df dot to underscore CSV, and in brackets, I'll put data slash imdb. I'll put t underscore b underscore r dot CSV. T for title, B for budget, R for revenue. Okay. So right now, if you expand it, there's only movies slide. But right now, I don't want to print anything, so I'll just comment it. Now, I'll execute this one. Generally, we don't need to save it because we are not going to work on that one. But for this lecture, for just for you to understand, I'm just doing it. But basically, we continue working on this at this data. Okay, it's already ready. So right click, run into terminal. Now we got this data. Now if I come back to here and reveal in Explorer, you get this IMDb. If I double click it, you should see a CSV file with the title and budget and the revenue. Okay, so that's how we use that's how we work on SQLite format of data. There are so many data formats. So much of data you can find it on Kaggle or some other place where .SQLite version. So try to work on different things. Try to analyze and test the data in your studio, SQLite Studio. You can find out what is needed, because here you can clearly say that, do I need the title, original title and title? I need only one thing, so I'll just check here in data and use it. So whatever the columns you need, you can choose it here, and then back in Visual Code, you create your data frame based on the required columns. So that's how we work with SQL data, and you convert it into Pandas data frame and then continue working on our requirements, whether it can be an application, machine learning app, or something else. Okay, so that's it for SQLite. And now do some more work on SQLite. Try to search some data formats and come back, and we'll continue working on the next format, which is the format is SQL. So take a small break of couple of frames, and then I'll see you in couple of frames. Okay guys, welcome back. Here in this lecture, we'll be working on with SQL format of data. If you check on previously, when we downloaded, we got some data called SQLite SQL text file. Okay, this data has some issues, so we are not going to use this data. It has got some errors, or it has got a very simple command, all things which we are not going to use it. So what are we going to use it is, if you go back to this Kaggle, in Kaggle we have got something called, I'll show you what you need to do. It's called RSVP movies. Okay, in Kaggle, just search for RSVP movies. Here in RSVP movies, it has got a format, something else. You can just download it. Okay, I already downloaded, so I'll show you. I'll show you what the contents of the okay. If you see here, these are the files. You can see it has called IMDb dataset import script. IMDb, and so generally I'm going to use this data import. So I'll just copy this one and paste it back in our folder of data, which is here, and paste it. So I got this data. Now I'm going to work on this one. Right now, if I want, I can rename it, but right now I just leave it. I'm not going to spend my time on all these things. So Now, to work on this data, once again, as I said, this is a different format. It's not SQLite version. It is the SQL version, which is like a more in-depth, like it's like a full stack thing. It has got, it's one of the widely used formats, SQL formats, and so we'll be using MySQL. So I'll recommend you guys to go for MySQL, and rather than, and click on downloads. And here in downloads, if you scroll down, you should see something called MySQL Community GPL Downloads, and click on the community server, download it and install it. So generally when you install, most of the time you can just click on next or execute, next, execute, or next, next, next. In one place, at one place, it will ask you to create your password. You need to create your password. Don't share that password, because that's how you can access your server, the local server. Generally it's local server. That's what we are going to work on, because all our data is local data for right now when we are learning. But generally, so create the password and all the things. So once you install, and so community server with a password and all things. So once you install, in search, if you click on something called workbench, MySQL workbench, so you should see something called workbench like this. So here what I did, you will not have this one, okay guys. You will have something called local instant MySQL 80 or something. It's local host 31. So I'll just click on this plus. If I click on this plus, set up a new connection. That's what I'm just trying to show. So you create a name. Generally, I'll give it as local underscore instance, just to show that they're different. And this is not needed, but just I'm showing you. And here, click on store in vault. Once you give the name, click on store in vault for the password, and then you need to give the same password which you have used in setting up your MySQL. Okay, so right now, and you can test the connection, whether if it says you are successful in connecting all things. Okay, so if you click here, all those things, and test connection, to test it, and click on OK. So now once it is done, if you double click on this local instance, you get your data. So right now I just need to remove this one drop schema. Okay, this generally I don't want you to feel that I'm already working. So this is how you see. So if you want to study the data, it's simple. If you come back here, this is the data. You can drag and dump this data here. That's it. You just need to drag and dump this data and click on execute button. Okay, so if I click on execute button, it will create a schema. Okay, so click on run. So after some time, if you click on this refresh button, you should see your IMDb data, and this is the data. Okay, so click on this button. After a few seconds, you just need to refresh. Now here, if you click on the tables, if you expand IMDb and tables, you can see all this thing. Now if you want to see movie, if I click on this icon, which is like a table in front of movie, so it shows me the table. Can you guys see? Year of data, duration. It's a different format. It's like it's worldwide gross, duration of the movie, and the title of the movie, and that's some weird movies. Okay, so this is how. And the command is that select everything from imdb dot movie is imdb, and movie is the table which we are going for. Is it clear? That's simple, straightforward. Now here, let's come back here. Now here we need to have, if I come back here on Visual Code, I'll create one more Python. Okay, this one I need to come back on the top, click Python, and this one I will say SQL workbook, and this time I'll put 01.py, because there are two different formats which we are going to use. And Here we need to install, if you check this one, we need to install something called mysql.connector. Okay, we need to install mysql connector. So if I come back here and search for pip install mysql connector, can you see it's there, and then click on mysql connector python. Okay, pip install mysql connector, just copy this command and come back here and paste it. Can you see pip install mysql dash connector dash python. And if you're guys, you need to remember your password which you have created when you created your when you install your mysql. And the next thing is that you need to open your workbench. Okay, so that you need to get your data here. Now sometimes if you can't launch it, it's easy. If you click on Control Alt Delete in Task Manager. Okay, not here, sorry. Okay, so it's here in Services. Can you click on Services and open Services? So Control Alt Delete, go to the Task Manager, Services, open Services, and search for MySQL. Can you see MySQL? By if it's not running, you just need to select it and click on running. Okay, click run button or something else. If you're having any issues, okay, because it's stopped, it should be running. It's easy. You can see the button. You can stop. Now let's come back here. Now here, I'll just copy this code. Once again, it's easy. Can you guys see here? It's import mysql.connector. We have installed Python, but you need to import mysql.connector as connector. You can call anything, guys. Okay, and pandas. And here con. I said once again, it's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so what I will do is that connector.connect, host is localhost, port is 3306. If you remember when you got this thing, you could see 3306. It's default one. It's localhost default one. And here password, you need to give your password. Right now I created a variable because I don't want to do hard coding. So I'm going to put my password here. So I put password equals something. It's not something. Okay, now if you see here, password is password. I wantedly did a change. So if you see here, I put underscore to show you guys. And then the database is what is the database? It's not world, it is IMDb. Not IMDb. If you come back here, it's called IMDb. Can you see the database called IMDb? So I can come back here, IMDb. Got it, guys? So I'll just pause for a few seconds so that I can put my password. So I put my password. So I'm just printing com. Means I want to test whether it's connected or not. Can you see here? Host, localhost, port 3306. User is root. Because if you see on workbench, when you double click it once again, you can see password is whatever the password you created. And the database is, right now we are using IMDb. And I'm printing the connection. So if I run it, it will give me that mysql.connection blah 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 stuff. If it's giving any warning, you must have done something wrong with the password or something else. Okay, so that will be careful when it comes. And it's a string, it's a string, so you need to put it in quotes. So right now my connection is successful. So I'm going to just, next thing what I will do is that once again df, once again you can say df and pd dot read sql, the same command which we use in sql. You can use some and select star from. If you come back here in the workbench, I want to go into this table movie. Okay, imdb and movie. So I can come back here. It's not cd, I'll put movie, and then con equals this con, and then I'll print the head so I can run it. I got it. Once again, you can choose, you know, everything what we did. You can choose the columns, you can save everything. But here, if you are working with SQL files, then you need to have MySQL or there is exam or all other things. But generally, I encourage you go for MySQL because we are going to learn SQL in using MySQL also. Okay, is it clear, guys? Simple, straightforward. The next thing is that rather than using SQL connector, we'll use the other style. Okay, because uh, nowadays we don't, when we create some applications, we want to uh, deploy it on some sort of web server or something else. So the next format which I'm going to show you, that is the best format which we can use it, because we may be using a Flask framework. Okay, what is this Flask web framework and all that? We'll try to learn it later, but right now that's one thing. So what I'll do is that I'll create one more Python file. I'll call it as sql underscore workbook underscore 02 dot py. Okay, is it like this? So I'll come back here. I'll just get the command. I'll get the code and I'll show you. Okay, I'll just pause it. Okay, let's come back. So here I already created a variable called password, which you guys know your password. That's what. But so first we need to import pandas, and there's two more. One is called Sql Alchemy, and the other one is PyMySQL. So if I go back to this Google and pip install Sql Alchemy. Okay, pip install Sql Alchemy. Copy this one. Generally, if you are using Flask, it will be pip install Flask Alchemy something else. But right now we are going to go for this one. Pip install Sql Alchemy. Because this is preferably used when you're working on something like web framework, some things. This is very powerful. Okay, so I created. Now the next one is PyMySQL. So I come back here. PyMySQL. It means Python MySQL. That's all. So if you come back here, copy this command and come here. So if you see pip install PyMySQL, which we copied, and we install. Clear. So now if you see, all the things are working. So if you check on here, this is what it's happening here. So they should be con str, but there's one small step I did wrong, which is I need to, I'll comment this command. Okay, not wrong, but I could say I'll put this as engine. You need to put create engine because I was not using it. So you have to say create engine, and in brackets you put MySQL plus PyMySQL colon // root colon, and then this is the password which you guys know. I created a variable. You should use your own password, and plus and @ symbol localhost, and the localhost is 3306. It's the same localhost that support, and the database is IMDb, and then echo true, and df is pd. Once again, from here it's same what we did here. So if you check here, when we are using Alchemy, we'll use create engine. Generally Alchemy, I'm using it on its own, but when we are working on a Flask web framework, we'll use Flask Alchemy. So it depends on our requirements, but this is a basic structure we need to understand. But once again, we'll study more in detail about SQL Alchemy and all sorts of stuff in the future studies. But right now, this is what we did, and what I'll do is I just activate my scripts. So when scripts activate CLS, now I can right click and say run Python file. Okay, now we got this data. Once again, it's up to us, which way you want. If you remember, we can just get the total budget revenue, but here the columns and everything are a bit different, so you can check it in Workbench and then identify the key columns you want, and then you can create your own data frame. And if you want to save it as a CSV file, you can always save it, but generally we don't need to, because when we are working on the project, we need a data frame from which we can start working, because it's the purpose of this is not saving to CSV. The purpose of is converting what SQL files or MySQL SQLite files or JSON files or to a data frame, CSV files to a data frame, pandas data frame, so we can start working on. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this lecture, and if you got any questions, any queries, please get back to me. I'll try to, or else we will try to work it out together. Take care. Bye. See ya.